morning, everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook, Twitch, X, and on Instagram. I am Bryson Carver. We're on the dawn. We are a couple days away from NFL Conference Championship Sunday. Obviously, I'll have my picks for both those games, AFC and NFC, in about 45 minutes or so. Got some basketball. Not great for two West Coast teams with all-time legendary players. The Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron. Talk about them in just a second. And a wild article that came out, by ESPN a couple of days ago regarding, LeBron James and Jeanie Buss, who's the owner of the team, or I guess now former, to a degree, owner of a team because she sold it to Mark Walter. The dynamic between those two, not great. As is the Golden State Warriors without Jimmy Butler. And who could have seen this coming? The Warriors without Jimmy are straight trash. Steph's awesome because he's Steph, and the rest of them bums are terrible. And of course, the Ravens hired Jesse Minter, which I actually kind of like the move. And I'll explain that in about 10 to 15 minutes or so. Again, I'm a Steelers fan, so I want the Ravens to bomb the head coaching hiring. But I actually think they got this one right. We'll get to all those things on today's show, as well as a little more Mike McCarthy commentary, given some more reports that have come out about the Steelers' interest in him, especially as it reverts to Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back. I'll save my thoughts for later on today's show. But first, a spicy article a couple days ago came out on ESPN. Shout out to Baxter Holmes, who wrote this piece regarding, it really wasn't about Jeanie Buss and LeBron James. It was about Jeanie Buss and her time as a Lakers owner and her relationship with some of her step siblings, and when she sold the team to Mark Walter and what went into that. We don't have time to get into that component of it. Frankly, I'm not as interested in that as I am in the dynamic between her and LeBron James. So basically, the article talks about how she felt. I'll get to the main thing that I found startling about it. But, she thought LeBron didn't take enough accountability for the Westbrook trade back in 2021. She thought about shipping him to the Clippers in 2022. She thought he wasn't as grateful as he should have been when they drafted Bronny, because it was a great sort of gesture by the organization. As Draymond Green pointed out in his podcast, let's not act like Bronny was just some, guy that they took from LeBron's house. Like, you know what? Bron's kid, let's bring him in. He was McDonald's All-American before he had, a heart attack, which we've talked about at length on this show. The thing that stuck out the most to me, though, and again, major credit to Baxter Holmes for putting this piece together. This is regarding Jeanie Buss and LeBron James. Quote, she didn't like that James was considered a savior for a floundering franchise when he arrived in 2018, and that it was he who chose the Lakers rather than the team's leadership receiving praise for landing him. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about with the LeBron component about him joining the Lakers. First of all, there were tea leaves as soon as 2017. After the Cavs lost the Warriors in the finals, lost in 5 games, Bron averaged a triple-double, didn't matter, ran to the greatest team ever. Bron was going to the final year of his deal, especially once Kyrie was shipped to Boston. He's like, what am I doing? And this team isn't trying to compete for championships. Still got him to the finals, but regardless, I want to go to LA for business reasons, because the fact that it's the Lakers. That's why I went to the Lakers, not the Clippers. And I think I can still be able to win at a high level here. She didn't like that LeBron considered himself a savior for the franchise. If he did, he should. And that's indisputable. When you think about the Lakers organization, you think of championships. You can go back to the days of George Mikan with the Minneapolis Lakers. We're going way back into the day, in the 50s. You had Mikan. And years later, you had Jerry West. And eventually, obviously, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, those guys. And then, of course, you had Showtime Lakers with Magic, Kareem, and James Worthy. And then you had Shaq and Kobe. And then Kobe and Powell. Nothing but success. 16 championships prior to LeBron James' arrival, second only to your rival, the Boston Celtics. And in the not 1 year, not 2 years, in the half decade, the 5 years prior to LeBron joining the Lakers, put up that graphic because it was the worst stretch in team history. 2013-14, they won 27 games. We'll just go by 1 year. So 2014, 27 wins. 2015, 21 wins. 2016, Kobe's last year. We all remember the 60-point game. They won 17 games, folks, out of 82. Next year, 26. Next year, 35. Worst stretch in team history. What do those 5 seasons have in common? Because Kobe Bryant was with them for 3 of the years, dealing with injuries for the first 2. Gone for the last couple. He'd retired. What did those 5 seasons have in common, folks? God rest his soul. The late, great Dr. Jeanie Buss had passed. Handed the team down to his kids. How did they do? Bomb draft picks. Hire bad coaches. Couldn't develop picks such as D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle. Randle, in his case, Brandon Ingram. They went on to be excellent players post-Lakers. LeBron joins within 2 years, they're champions. So just that in and of itself, LeBron absolutely saved the Lakers. They were a crap organization. As a Golden State Warriors fan, I'm thinking, please, the days of the Lakers being, those have long passed. Maybe years down the road, they'll draft somebody and be a respectable franchise again. But the days of the Lakers being the NBA standard, that's over. Sign LeBron 2 years later, they're champions. Well, how did they become champions? Of course, by adding LeBron James, but by adding Anthony Davis. Well, folks, as we all know, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Clutch Sports, he's not being able to, he's not able to be there if LeBron isn't there because of its ties to Rich Paul. So with that being said, when the article talks about how Jeanie thought Clutch Sports was running the Lakers and not Jeanie, maybe that's true. You got a championship out of it. Not only did you get a championship out of it, you know what you got 11 months ago? Because of Anthony Davis, his relationship to Clutch Sports being LeBron's agent, LeBron wanting to come to the Lakers in the first place. You know what you got out of that? Luka Doncic. You got one of the 5 best players in basketball, imperfect player, no question. Conditioning issues, defense is optional for him, understood. But I'm not sure they have Luka than old Anthony Davis getting old and have no trade value, and LeBron James, who may retire after this season, and then you're stuck. Then you're crap again. Then you're a disastrous organization, which you were before LeBron got there. Even in Kobe Bryant's last years with the Lakers, terrible. Mostly related to Kobe's injuries, but also related to terrible, roster management by the LA Lakers front office. And so this idea, folks, Bron saw himself as the savior. Yeah, that's because he was. He came there, brought the Lakers some credibility, some notoriety again. A year after that, Anthony Davis comes because of LeBron. And once Anthony Davis is getting old, getting more injured, less reliable, guess what you parlay that into? Luka. Now you're set for the next, at worst, 7 years. Depends on how much Luka takes care of his body. So this has always been a franchise. Again, going back to before they were even in Los Angeles with Mikan. From that point on to now, with the exception of maybe like a combined decade, the Lakers have always had a superstar all-time legendary player in their prime. Mikan, West, Wilt wasn't his prime, but he was still excellent. He was a finals MVP, and I think that was 72. Then Magic, Kareem won MVPs with the Lakers. Kobe, Shaq, Pau Gasol, LeBron, Anthony Davis at his peak, now Luka Doncic. So in many ways, LeBron covered for your mismanagement, Jeanie Buss. LeBron covered for the fact that once your dad died, it was not the same franchise. Didn't even resemble the one that Jeanie Buss purchased in, I think it was the 70s. Not even close. Again, put that graphic up again. This is what the Lakers were prior to LeBron's arrival. And you tell me he wasn't the savior of the organization. 27 wins, 21 wins, 17 wins is embarrassing. 26 wins, 35 wins. 2 years later, championship. It's kind of like when LeBron left Cleveland the first time and they were awful for 4 years. And then when he left Miami, still Miami, they're well run. It'd be one thing is if an article came out, Pat Riley thought LeBron was the savior. You could say, well, they haven't won a title since LeBron left, but they've been to a couple of finals. I mean, the Jimmy Butler years, get well soon, Jimmy. Dwayne Wade still had a nice playoff run in 2016. Like, they're still a good organization. Spoelstra's an amazing coach. Cleveland, God knows they wouldn't. Cleveland knows. Cavs, I know I get on Cavs fans. They know LeBron was the savior of that franchise. Before he got there, garbage. He was there, finals contender. Left, garbage. Got back, finals every year, won a championship in 16. Left, garbage until they got Donovan Mitchell 4 years later. The hubris by Jeanie Buss, as reported by Baxter Holmes, is just astounding to me. And again, there's more in this article. My guy Barry Grant Jr., shout out to him. Check out his reaction to it on the All Even podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, the whole bit. He kind of went deeper than I am as it relates to Jeannie's relationship with other members of her family, step siblings, the sale to Mark Walter, which I think was a great move for the Lakers, as bad as I hate to say it, because Walter's done an unbelievable job with the Dodgers in LA. He went into that more. So if you want to react to that, feel free to check out Barry's stuff from last night's show that he did. I'm just astounded at the who does LeBron think he is? Who do you think you are? LeBron's resume set before the day he walked into Los Angeles. Yours wasn't. You do not have Luka Doncic, if not for Anthony Davis. And you don't have Anthony Davis, if not for Clutch Sports. And you don't have Clutch Sports, if not for LeBron James. Oh, sue him. He screwed up on the Westbrook move. You know who else he wanted? Ty Lue. And he didn't pull that trigger. That's why I always get a kick out of that, too. Everyone, LeBron messed up in the Westbrook trade. For the record, you can check the tape back in July. You have to really go back in the archives. But July 2021, on this show, the day after that trade, I said this is an awful move by the Lakers. He doesn't fit at all. You just gave up valuable assets that could be parlayed into somebody that can actually help you win. Westbrook would not do that. Called it day one. And by all accounts, LeBron was the guy who initiated that. Big mistake on his part. But he also wanted Ty Lue to be his head coach. You know who they got? Frank Vogel, and then Darvin Ham, and then JJ Redick, who I like, but you know, he's don't know how well it's working when you're ripping the entire roster. Yeah, guys are just focused on this summer, man. The guys they're on option deals. They're focused on free agency. Not great. Never heard Steve Kerr say that, but regardless, the Lakers have been a pretty darn dysfunctional organization for a decade plus now. Starting with the passing of Jeanie Buss and the torn Achilles from Kobe Bryant ending his prime. The fact they've got a title in this stretch, it's because LeBron got Anthony Davis to LA. And eventually, if you have future success with Luka, Anthony Davis, you parlayed Anthony Davis into getting Luka Doncic. Anthony Davis wouldn't have been in Los Angeles if it weren't for LeBron James. Now, none of that happens if Nico Harrison was a competent GM, but regardless, that's the story. So I read this and I was flabbergasted by it. Absolutely flabbergasted. Here's something I think is interesting, though. Well, we'll do another NBA topic that I'm every Warriors topic I'm going to do for the rest of maybe my life. I'm going to dread after the Jimmy injury. Get to them in about 10 minutes. To the Baltimore Ravens. I guess this is the show where I'm complimenting my teams, some of my team's rivals. The Lakers and Warriors have they don't love each other. Northern California, Southern California. And then obviously Steelers, Ravens, that's pretty self-explanatory. So the Ravens hired Jesse Minter to be their new head coach. Now, Jesse Minter was long-time ties to the Harbaugh family. He worked for John Harbaugh in Baltimore for a while. Then he went to work with Jim as the defensive coordinator at Michigan. He came with Jim to the LA Chargers to be their defensive coordinator, turned them from literally the worst defense in football to top 5 defense in 2 years. Like the guy can coach. But as we all know, you're hiring a guy for the first time. You don't know what he's going to be. Ben Johnson's the closest that I've seen where it's like, oh, that guy's going to work. Like he just is. He's motivation of Dan Campbell, the brilliant smarts when it comes to play calling. I'm sure he'll put together a good staff, which he did. Ben Johnson's the only coordinator in the last 5 years that I feel like was a pretty sure bet. You don't get those very often. So Jesse Minter, who knows? We know he's going to a well-run organization. The Bisciotti family do a great job. Lamar Jackson's still an elite quarterback at a down year, I think, in his defense in large part because he was injured. And we know the Ravens draft well. So it's not like he's inheriting the Browns, who when you watch just sidebar, I'm obviously scouring all these head coaching interviews because my team's looking for a head coach. And when you're seeing like this guy turned down a Browns, like Chris Shula turned down a Browns interview, like that they're going to have to like end up promoting Jim Schwartz, who's a great DC head coach, leaves a lot to be desired. So it's Cleveland being Cleveland. But to Baltimore, though, I actually think this works. Part of the reason I say that again is the ties to Harbaugh's. And you say, well, isn't part of the reason they fired John Harbaugh because he didn't have the best relationship with Lamar Jackson? Well, yes, but do you think John and Jim are identical? They're actually kind of notorious for being very, very different from one another. Jim's very intense, Jim's his own man. Like we know that going back to Niners, Michigan, Chargers, even before that, Stanford, like Jim's his own guy. John, not necessarily the case. I'm not saying John's not unique. I'm saying Jim is a different cat. And Jesse Minter spent most of his time with Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers and with Michigan. So defensive guy, we know the Ravens have a defensive culture. And you say, Bryson, wait a second. Haven't you been the guy that's been on the hire young offensive coaches? Yes. That does not, and I've said this, that does not mean that defensive coaches can't work in this league and can't have a lot of success. Look at DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans needs to find him a legit offensive coordinator. The second he does, Texas, well, we'll see what happens with Stroud. I don't apologize on this show the way Dan Orlovsky did his. Regardless, if the Texans could get a legit OC, they're a Super Bowl contender if they weren't already this year. The offense held it back. DeMeco Ryans is a great coach. Mike McDonald in Seattle, unbelievable coach. Now, are those type of defensive guys, to me, the only drawback of hiring a smart defensive guy is that the young whiz OC leaves? Yeah, that's always going to be a risk. That's why the Patriots are just in the catbird seat, because Mike Vrabel's the defensive guy. Josh McDaniels is his OC. Well, McDaniels was a terrible head coach twice. No one's hiring him. He's not leaving New England. So they're set. And the part about this that gives Baltimore an advantage in division over Pittsburgh right now, and I think Bill Cowher was talking about this on the Pat McAfee show today, is that you obviously want to be prudent, you want to be smart, you want to be very diligent in who you hire to be your next head coach, especially given that the Steelers have had 3 in 57 years. Like, they want to keep a guy long-term. Great. You want to make sure you got your guy. Fantastic. But the longer you wait, the more that these excellent assistants keep getting poached by a Kevin Stefanski, by a Jesse Minter, by Robert Saleh, by all of these guys, John Harbaugh with the Giants. And so the Ravens, and again, they fired Harbaugh a week before Tomlin resigned, so they had a week head start, to be fair. But they've got their guy. They feel confident in him. He was pursued by multiple teams to be their new head coach. We knew he was going to get a job. I think he'll fix the defense. As long as he hires a smart offensive coach, he'll work with Lamar Jackson. I hate to say it, I think the Ravens will be fine. I think the Ravens will be back into probably not Super Bowl contention because we can't trust them in the playoffs, but if they're not in the postseason in 2026, I would be shocked, because the Browns are the Browns. The Steelers should go into a rebuild. We'll get to that in about 15 minutes. And then as for the Bengals, we don't even know if Burrow's going to be on the team next year. Like, that's a question right now. And even if he is, he was great last year, or I guess technically now a couple of years ago, 2024 career season, and the Bengals won 9 games because their defense was a train wreck. So again, the Bengals are the Cowboys with worse uniforms. Like, that's what it is. But I think this is a good hire for Baltimore. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I mean, who couldn't have seen this coming? Jimmy Butler goes down. The Warriors look pretty mediocre at best. That, along with, by the way, a report that came out from a legit journalist who we'll get to in just a moment, in just 1 minute on the show. That, as well as the Mike McCarthy rumors, are starting to scare me a little bit as a Steelers fan. And of course, the end of the show, Conference Championship weekend. We got the AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Broncos. We got the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Seahawks. Predictions for both of those games. They're both, spoiler, if I were a Betman games, of course. We're going to go these two, and then Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. All three are going to be if I were a Betman games. Come back with all that in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody for stopping by on a Friday. So, man, this has been a terrible week to be a Golden State Warriors fan. It has really just sucked. If you want to check out my video that my segment that I did on Wednesday's show. The full video is on the YouTube channel now as of about an hour and a half ago. So feel free to check that out to see me just fall into a depressive state. So, of course, the Golden State Warriors went on the road to Dallas. They're on a road trip. They're going to Minnesota, actually, for the next 2 games, which I'm not exactly sure if the game tomorrow is even going to happen. Well, it's going to happen, but if it's going to get postponed because of the ice storms that's going around the country right now. So everybody out there, stay safe, stay warm. It's going to be pretty wild out there. So do what you can to, again, keep yourself safe and warm out there. But they played the Mavs last night, the Warriors did, and they lost 113-105. And listen, I don't have a ton from this game to react to. I do have one graphic to show that Steph Curry was, I know this is going to shock everybody, he was awesome because he's Steph Curry. The rest of the Warriors starters were terrible. We can show you that graphic. Steph was awesome. 38 points, shot 52 basically percent from the field, 53% from 3. The Warriors starters had 30 points. 4 guys had 8 less points than Steph, shot 13% worse from the field and 27% worse from 3. That's the reality the Warriors are in right now. And to make matters worse, Jonathan Kuminga twisted his ankle in that game. I don't think that's going to do a ton to damage his trade value because he hasn't played in a month prior to this. So I think since December 18th, which, can I say this real quick? For those that have been acting like, oh, Kerr's just screwing Kuminga over, prior to the Jimmy injury, the second Kerr sacked Kuminga, the Warriors won 12 of their next 16 games. Like this idea that he was just sabotaging Kuminga because of a beef there. Listen, honest to God, I get why Kuminga doesn't hold Kerr in high esteem. He wants to play. I get it. He's a competitive guy, but he doesn't fit the Warriors. And it's a crappy situation on both sides of Kuminga. It will not be a Warrior in 2 weeks. Regardless, do not believe the reports are saying, they could. This is not a tenable situation for the locker room, for Kuminga. They're going to trade him before the February 5th deadline. So I would not worry about that. Here's what I would just see here as a Warriors fan that I found to be completely absurd is that a report came out. I want to make sure I get the guy's name right because I don't want to be inaccurate on the show, of course. A report came out from the Steinline, which is a reputable basketball website. That I can't find the guy's name, unfortunately. That the Warriors are going to pursue this offseason. LeBron James, which if the article had stopped right there, if the report stopped right there, yeah, sure. I got no problem with that. LeBron's going to be a free agent. He's almost certainly, especially with this new Jeanie Buss piece we talked about, which we talked about at the top of the show. I think it's on the board. LeBron's not a Laker in 2 weeks. It's unlikely, but I think it's on the board. He will not be a Laker this offseason. Either he retires or he goes elsewhere. We know LeBron and Steph want to play with each other for a while. It makes sense. Gives the Warriors a puncher's chance. Not a good one, but better than they have now. But it goes on to say the Warriors are pursuing LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, ESPN reported today, especially after the Bucks have just been a joke this year, despite Giannis having one of the best years of his career. They're not even in the play-in mix in the Eastern Conference. They're not even in the play-in. That Giannis and the Bucks are talking about his future there. And it still could be in play that he gets moved in 13 days before the February 5th deadline. And as much as I would love to see Giannis as a Warrior, this will be the first time in Steph Curry's prime. I still think Steph's in his prime. He's averaging 27 a game. For the first time in Steph's prime, he would have a guy on his team that is definitively better than him. We can argue about who is better between Steph and KD. I think it was Steph, but it was at least close. It was a discussion. They were both recently crowned MVPs. Giannis loves Steph. Giannis is better than Steph. I think he's better than everybody with the exception of Jokic, to be frank. But I'll say now what I've said in the past when discussing this player going to this team. Who do the Warriors have to give up for him that other teams would not have? Do the Warriors have better assets than the Spurs? I don't think the Spurs are going to go after Giannis. I think they're going to go with their young core. Totally get it. Do they have the assets that the Houston Rockets have? Şengün. I don't think they're moving Amen Thompson, but they could if they wanted to. Draft picks. A lot of lottery guys. Reed Shepherd. They've got guys they can move for Giannis. The Warriors have Jonathan Kuminga, if the Bucks want to take Jimmy, I guess. If they want to take Draymond at this particular point in time, I hate to say it because I've been a guy that's defended Draymond for over the years. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze in 2026. If they want to take him, I will love you forever, Draymond, but I will support it. Kuminga, Draymond, and a few picks, I guess. I mean, it in theory, but the Bucks are going to try and position themselves, as they should, to rebuild this thing by moving Giannis. So unlike Nico Harrison, they're going to try to set themselves up for the future because they all are a small market. They're in a situation OKC was in back in 2019 when they traded for Shea. They didn't know Shea was going to be this good, but we're a small market. Free agents don't come to Milwaukee. They don't come to Oklahoma City. We're going to build with draft picks. Milwaukee, I think, will have that same mindset. The Warriors, even if the Golden State Warriors attach picks, they're not great picks. I think won't be lottery picks. If they are, they'll be 13th, 14th pick lottery picks. Pursuing LeBron, I'm absolutely in favor of that, especially if he's a free agent. You don't have to give up anything for him. Sure. Yeah, LeBron step together. It's one last hurrah. Absolutely. But as for Giannis, I would be ecstatic if we made a move for him. We can't. I'm sorry. If Jonathan Kuminga is the center of a deal, is the key piece of the deal to acquire, I don't know, the second best player in the sport, I'm sorry. That's just not going to work. It's not like your draft picks are great either. So this recent stretch for the Warriors has just been kind of hell. I mean, you saw in Steph's expressions that Amazon was kind of zooming in on him on the bench in the closing moments of the game, and he looked just as pissed as you'll see Steph look. Like it was like a very kind of like long stare into the distance. Steph went into the season. This is why I predicted the Warriors to win the title before the year. And I said, if Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond were healthy, don't believe me, check the tape. That if this is the first time since KD was a Warrior that Steph went into a season knowing his team can win the championship. Because he did not know that before 2021-22. That's well documented. I thought they could. The Warriors did not, ironically. Steph carried them to that. And so now with Jimmy gone, now that's off the table. Now, especially, you won 12 of 16. You're playing well. Jimmy's playing well. The team's and then Jimmy blows his ACL, and that's it. I mean, there were some reports today suggesting, hey, they might move Kuminga bring Andrew Wiggins back. I mean, the team gets better. Kuminga for Wiggins. Wiggins is a better player than Kuminga. Yeah, of course. And fits the Warriors better. Yeah, sure, I'd welcome Wiggins back. They have a 0% chance to win, though. It's really unfortunate. And so, again, as I said on Wednesday's show, and Tim Kawakami was talking about this on social media. Tim Kawakami, who is a member of the Bay Area sports media, he was saying that the idea of trading Steph willingly is truly asinine, and it is, of course. If Steph asks out, to me, that's a different conversation. Like, you do not trade Steph because you're like, you know what, we can get better long-term. Dang it, it's Steph Curry. He's the greatest player in the history of franchise, even at 37 going on 38, still in his prime, still averaging 27 a game, gave you 38 points last night with no Jimmy Butler and no help from his other starters. But if Steph says, I want a chance to win while I'm so great, frankly, Steph wouldn't publicly admit this. I kind of want to pass Magic in the all-time point guard discussion, or at least make it more of a discussion than folks may not think that, or may think that it is. I want to win, and the Warriors should acquiesce to his wishes. Try and get whatever they can, obviously, but they should do that. If not, then Steph should finish his career the way Dirk Nowitzki and Kobe Bryant finished his career, with the team that drafted him. Technically, the Lakers didn't draft Kobe, but they acquired his draft rights. But that's how it should be. Or Tim Duncan. If not, I understand Steph's perspective. I appreciate, listen, these reporters aren't getting this from nothing. Like, they're not just making stuff out of thin air. They're hearing what sources in that front office have told them. That they're trying to just do whatever they can just to give Steph one more chance to win a title. They did last year, to their credit, by acquiring Jimmy, and then Steph's hamstring goes. Like, that's injuries, man. That's sports. It happens. I don't know, man. This season's just totally gone to hell, and it's terrible. Let's shift to something else that'll piss me off. Mike McCarthy potentially getting hired as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. So, Adam Schefter went on McAfee today. And he said, there's 3 names I'm hearing as like the front runners for the Steelers job. One of them actually interviewed with Pittsburgh today. The one that did was Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, Chris Shula, defensive coordinator for the Rams, and Mike McCarthy, former head coach of the Packers and Cowboys. I'm still not going to give up on the idea that Nate Scheelhaase couldn't be the Steelers' next head coach. That's honest to God, especially now that Flores got an extension with Minnesota. I really want Nate Scheelhaase to be the new head coach of the Steelers. Young, offensive minded McVay tree. I already talked about that on Wednesday. But if it does come down to those 3, Shula would be my first choice because McVay guy, he's a defensive coach, but he is a young defensive coach that's working for Mike McDonald and Mike Vrabel and D'Amico Ryans. Like there's a template for this to work, as long as you hire a good staff. The second choice for me would be Anthony Weaver, who the Dolphins defenses haven't been great, but A, the personnel hasn't been great, and B, to his credit, and this matters as a head coach. See, Dan Campbell, no one was talking about Dan Campbell when he was assistant with the Saints. They talked about Dan Campbell after that first press conference in Detroit, where he talked about biting kneecaps. Anthony Weaver has a presence about him. If you watch his press conferences in Miami, it's like, okay, that guy looks like a head coach. He speaks like a head coach. Like that guy can lead a group of men. I would have no problem if the Steelers make a move to hire him. Reports are circulating now that 2 things drive the idea about bringing Mike McCarthy to Pittsburgh. Number 1, he's from Pittsburgh. I mean, he's got the Pittsburgh accent. He's when he talks about being able to be good on third down, DAHN, third down, first down, like downtown. He's a Yenzer. He's from Pittsburgh. That's number 1. And number 2, and even more horrifying, is the idea that hiring Mike McCarthy, this makes me want to throw up in my mouth, would potentially entice Aaron Rodgers to come back to Pittsburgh. Because Aaron Rodgers, he joined the Steelers, A, because they're better run than the Jets, and B, because he wanted to play for Mike Tomlin. Well, that's option B is off the table now, of course. But despite some of the issues he and McCarthy had in Green Bay, which were documented extensively, reports in recent years, I mean, I remember there was a game, the Packers played the Cowboys in 2022, I think it was, when McCarthy was with the Cowboys and Aaron was still with the Packers. And reportedly before that game was the first time they faced each other since they've been together in Green Bay. They talked in like a back room at Lambeau for like an hour. Like they were like really just like kind of catching up, talking about life, football. Like they seemed to have improved their relationship. My question to the Steelers front office, if this is an actual thought going through their head, if the idea is hire Mike McCarthy hire Mike McCarthy in and of itself, I mean, do we have the graphic? You're hiring the offensive version of Mike Tomlin. I mean, here you go. Tomlin 19 seasons, McCarthy 18. Tomlin 13 playoffs, McCarthy 12. Both have 8 division titles. Tomlin, much better winning percentage of the regular season. McCarthy, much better winning percentage in the postseason. They're the same guy. As bad as that would be on its head, the idea of bringing him in so that you can keep Aaron Rodgers, 42 going on 43 years old, Aaron Rodgers who has not been good in 5 years, Aaron Rodgers who has not won a playoff game in 6. My question to the Steelers front office, to the Rooney family, to Omar Khan, to everybody would be simple. What is your goal for 2026? What is your goal? Is it to put the Steelers in the best position to win a Super Bowl? Because that wouldn't do it. You're telling me in a conference, Mahomes is going to come back healthy. They got Eric Bieniemy back. We'll see what the Chiefs do. The Patriots aren't going anywhere. Neither are the Broncos, it feels like. Chargers hired, it looks like, unless he takes the Buffalo job, Mike McDaniel to be their OC. Buffalo, even for all their faults, they still have regular season Josh Allen. The Ravens still have regular season Lamar Jackson in your own division. You really think Mike McCarthy and 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers are going to win you a Super Bowl or even give you a prayer's chance at doing so? Because the smart thing to do, given you have one of the oldest rosters in the league, given the fact you have literally the most expensive defense in the league, tear it down, move TJ Watt to a contender. TJ Watt has never won a playoff game. I want to see TJ Watt playing big games. He's never really done that in Pittsburgh at all. Wish him nothing but the best. Get a ton of assets for him. Move Jalen Ramsey. Wasn't a fan of that trade from the beginning. Move DK Metcalf. Almost cost us the season against Detroit. Get assets from that. Hire, again, preferably a young offensive coach, Nate Shieldhouse. But if you want to make a move on one of two young defensive coaches in Chris Shula or Anthony Weaver, got no problem with that either. Or Brian Flores, but it looks like he's probably going to stay in Minnesota. And build this thing from the ground up. Because if the goal is to win Super Bowl number 7 in Pittsburgh, this sure as hell ain't going to do it. I mean, it's just not. Like, what do you hope to gain from 2026 that would give you a chance to compete beyond that? Because Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, well, they won a Super Bowl together. Yeah, 16 years ago. Like, that was in elementary school the last time they won a championship. Like, what are we talking about? So this idea that this is even something on the board for this team is it's lunacy. And I pray to God it doesn't happen, man, because I thought, honest to God, okay, just bear through it. 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and bad leadership and throwing guys under the bus, and in that playoff game against Houston, making it clear to all of America it was not his fault. It was DK Metcalf's fault and the offensive line's fault and everybody except for Aaron Rodgers' fault. Just deal with that for a year. He's going to retire, and then you're done. I can't stomach another year of Aaron Rodgers, and I darn sure can't stomach another year of Aaron Rodgers with the offensive version of Mike Tomlin in Mike McCarthy. So these reports are making me nervous, I'm not going to lie. Again, I've said it for a week or so. My first choice, yes, he's inexperienced. I get it. It's a big swing, but it would be a swing at a pitch that could take you to the promised land, based on recent NFL history. Nate Shieldhouse, 34 years old, so he's a young guy. He's an offensive coach, passing game coordinator for the Rams from the McVay tree, which is pretty darn solid. That would be my first choice. My second choice, this feels like it's probably not going to happen. Brian Flores, he signed a contract extension to stay with the Vikings. Still could take a head coaching job. It feels like he's going to stay in Minnesota. And then a tie between Anthony Weaver and Chris Shula. Any of those three options take place, if we hire Shieldhouse, I'm ecstatic. If we hire any of the other three defensive guys, Weaver, Flores or Shula, great with that too. Young defensive coaches, those have worked as well in the NFL. If you hire Mike McCarthy, it's like, oh, you've learned nothing. You guys have learned absolutely nothing. You're the same organization that kept Mike Tomlin around despite him. Do we have that graphic having the longest playoff or losing streak in history? Yeah, there you go. It's tied with Marvin Lewis. 7 straight playoff losses, and you probably weren't going to fire him after the 7th. He had to resign. That scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. All right. Here's what doesn't scare me. Here's what excites me after all that is we got conference championship weekend coming up in the National Football League. So let's go and get the background music going. We are going to have a Super Bowl matchup by Sunday night. Here we go. All right. Start with the AFC Championship game. But before we get to that, let's show the update. It's a very mixed bag on my picks this year. So this includes postseason. 175, 107, 1. Not terrible. Against the spread, I'm going to finish under 500, which is a bummer. Upset of the week, 8-11. I could have easily been 9-10 with the Caleb Williams Hail Mary at the end, but alas. Bleak bet, we already said last week that that's done for the year. The bleak bet should look like that because it's a bleak bet. And then bet, man, my dearly beloved segment. Even if I go undefeated the rest of the way, I'm going to finish under 500, and that's something that pains me in my core. It really, really does. Divisional record 2-2. Divisional record against the spread also 2-2. So, good old-fashioned Pittsburgh Steelers 500. All right, let's go though to the AFC Championship game, and for the record, both games will feature this segment. It's time for my favorite segment of all time. It is called
Betting Man.
If I were a bet man, I am looking at the AFC Championship game featuring the 2-seed New England Patriots and the 1-seed Denver Broncos. New England on the road is a 4.5-point favorite. Of course, this almost entirely stems from the fact no Bo Nix for the Broncos for the rest of the playoffs. He unfortunately broke his ankle in that game against Buffalo. which really sucks for the kid because he was clutch in the fourth quarter and overtime. Would have loved to have seen him get an opportunity in this game against New England. Even as critical as I've been of him, would have been fun to see. New England's favorite in this spot. Jarrett Stidham making his first start in 2 years. Throwing his first pass in 2 years. He's got 4 starts total in his career. He's got a 1-3 record in those games. To be fair, a couple of years ago against the best defense of the league, which it was in 2022, the 49ers, he and the Raiders, not the Rams or something, hung 34. So, like, there's something there. With Sean Payton, Cortland Sutton, they should be getting J.K. Dobbins back from injury to boost the run game. They've got an unbelievable offensive line. Like, it's not like he's working with nothing. Marvin Mims. We know this Denver defense gets the quarterback. Nick Benito, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper. They've got some dogs up front. Pat Surtain in the secondary. This Broncos defense, though, folks, has been, as of late, kind of a little similar to the Rams, better in name than in production. If you think about the last month or so for this team, late November, they gave up 26 to the Marcus Mariota-led Washington Commanders. They gave up 26 to the Green Bay Packers' depleted offense. Gave up 34, albeit to the hottest quarterback in the game to finish the regular season, Trevor Lawrence, but you still gave up 34 at home. And then he gave up 30 last week to Buffalo, never forced a punt. All of Buffalo's drives either ended a score or a turnover. Well, the thing is, though, Drake May comes in this game, and we can show Drake May's stats for the postseason. He's been a little shaky. He's got more turnovers than touchdowns in the playoffs. 4 total touchdowns, 5 turnovers. Completion percentage, not great. Pass rating, not amazing. Not as good as it was for him in the regular season. But again, 2-0 because the Patriots defense has been sensational. I'll be honest. The line scares me a little bit, but there's also an element I was just kind of sat back and thought of it. It's like, okay, Justin Herbert's a terrible playoff quarterback. We've done segments for years on the show about that. CJ Stroud has regressed badly for the last year and a half. Do I think Jarrett Stidham, even at home, even with Sean Payton, is better than those guys, even despite the limitations there? I really don't. And so, as I said on the show, on Monday after the Patriots beat Houston, that I wanted to be the first to congratulate the Patriots on going to the Super Bowl. Let's make it official. If I were a bet man, give me the Patriots minus 4.5. They win 27-16, and for the first time in not even a decade, like Patriots fans act like it's been a eternity, since 2018, okay? The New England Patriots will represent the AFC for Super Bowl 60. 27-16, Drake May has his first clean game of the playoffs, and the Patriots get this thing done. 27-16, they cover the 4.5-point spread, although, again, it's better than 5.5, so some people are starting to like Denver in the points, but not crazy about the 4. All right, it is now time for the second game for my favorite segment of all time. It is called...
betting man.
If I were a bet man, I went back and forth on this one, folks. The NFC Championship game featuring, let's be honest, in the regular season, the 2 best teams for the NFC. The Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle in this game, favored by 2.5, which I think is a perfect spread. These days in the NFL, home field advantage isn't quite what it used to be as it relates to betting lines. It's about 2.5 now. It used to be 3. It's down to 2.5. So basically Vegas is saying, hey, if this was played in the Super Bowl, some people are saying this is the Super Bowl. I disagree with that. But if this were the Super Bowl, pick 'em game. There are a number of reasons you could pick either team this spot. If you want to pick the Rams, you would say, okay, this Seattle defense is awesome. It is awesome. And the last time that Matt Stafford and this Rams offense squared up against the Seattle Seahawks, Stafford had maybe the best game of any player at his position in the NFL. It might be the game we look back and say, even despite the loss, that might have gotten him the MVP. 29-49, 457 yards, 3 touchdowns, including the go-ahead pass in overtime, passer rating of 110 and a QBR 0-100 of 89. Stafford against that defense that we saw last week against the Niners was unbelievable. Puka Nacua had the best game of his career, over 200 yards receiving in that game. That would be the biggest reason to pick the Rams. Biggest reason to pick the Seahawks would be, have you seen the Rams defense this season? It's over the last month and a half, we talked about Denver's defense kind of falling off for the Rams, even more so. Go back to November 30th against Carolina. They gave up 31. They only gave up 17 against the Cardinals, 34 given up to Detroit, 38 given up to the Seahawks on that Thursday night game that basically decided the division. 27 given up against Atlanta, 20 given up against the Cardinals, 31 again to Carolina, and then only 17 against Chicago. But A, bone-chilling cold. B, Caleb almost beats you at the throw of the year. 4th down and 4, Caleb runs backwards, throws a strike to Cole Kmet. Could have lost the game right there. So his defense has been shaky. And this is bordering on Bryson's bleak bet, but it's not a bleak bet because I will not be shocked. Obviously, it's the best 4 teams in the NFL left. Of course, I'm not shocked if one of these teams wins. The deciding factor for me, because I think the winner of this game is going to be favored to win the Super Bowl. That definitely against Denver, and I think against New England. It's as simple as this. Not only was one quarterback outstanding against the other defense in their last meeting, not only did the Rams lead the Seahawks for all 4 quarters of their first matchup and for 3.5 quarters of their second matchup and losing on a 2-point conversion in overtime. And I've defended this guy, but he's fallen off as of late. Big game. It comes down to this sometimes in sports, folks. Which guy do you like in the brightest spots better? Do you like Matt Stafford or do you like Sam Darnold? Well, here's what I know about Sam Darnold, who it's been great to see his renaissance in the last couple of years, and I think he's established himself. He is a franchise quarterback. Going back to last year at Minnesota, we're not talking about some of those years with the Jets or Carolina. No. Against the Rams, as a member of the Vikings and as a member of the Seahawks, he's played them 4 times. Here's Sam Darnold's numbers. It's pretty self-explanatory. He has 5 touchdowns, 7 picks. Completion percentage is pretty good. So is the pass yards per game, but passer rating of 78 and a QBR 0-100 of 38, and he has a record of 1-3. That one win obviously came in their most recent matchup, for Seahawks to feel good about, in that Thursday night game a month ago. So because of that, it's going to be tight, man. I think this might be the game of the year. I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. If I were a bet man, I'm taking the Rams plus 2.5 to win this game 28-24 over the Seattle Seahawks. And for the second time in the last 5 seasons, the Los Angeles Rams will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That means we will get how history repeats itself, folks. The game, I almost hit the mic there. The game that started the Patriots dynasty, the game that concluded the Patriots dynasty, is the game that, does it start another Patriots dynasty? Who knows? But we get again. Rams, Patriots, Super Bowl 60. That will be your matchup. We will get the top 2 candidates for the most valuable player in Matt Stafford and Drake May. Man, I mean this. I was that close to ticking Seattle because how dominant they've been in the defense. I've raved about this team all season long, this defense all season long. I've said as recently as Monday's show, there's some Legion of Boom quality here where it's just, God, they just fly to the football. And I'm not comparing Matt Stafford to this quarterback before you Patriots fans get mad at me. But what happened when Seattle ran into the likes of Tom Brady? Said, what happened when they ran into Peyton Manning? Bad snap over Peyton's head. It all snowballed from there. New England at least was competitive. They were down 10 in the 4th, but New England started that game out in front. Brady torched them. Now, again, greatest quarterback ever. But Matt Stafford, literally the last time he played this team, he threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. That Devon Witherspoon and Puka Nacua matchup is going to be fascinating in this game. Can't wait to see it. McVay versus McDonald. Oh, my gosh. And by the way, both conference championship games feature a Sean versus Mike matchup. You got McVay versus McDonald, and you got Peyton versus Vrabel. Fun stuff. With that, a little bit of a shorter show, but that's all the time for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Before we get out, a little bit of business real quick. Be sure to check out our Carving Up merch. Scan that QR code right there on the top left side of your screen because it will take you to our Grid Network website. You could check out Carving Up merch. We got hats, we got t-shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got jogging shorts, jogging pants. You're not going to get any of those shorts for a while, especially given the weather around the country right now. But we got amazing merch. Check that stuff out. We got bags, the whole bit. Check out our other Grid Network merch as well. We got All Even Podcast, Boston Sports Summit, Saturday Morning Tailgate. More on that in just a second. We've got Boys in the Zone, Cowboys, Cam Fam, Mike and Josh. All of our shows here in the Grid Network. And if you just want Grid merch, like just the Grid Network merch. You can get that too. So definitely scan that QR code right above me and to your left side of your computer or phone screen or smart TV, the whole bit. Scan that QR code. It'll take you to the website where you can check out our Grid Network merch. Also, tomorrow, big announcement, tomorrow morning, the Saturday morning tailgate season 1 finale. Myself, Tim Barnard, Arthur Hurst will be there tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time to break down the national championship game, to talk about a really, really, really confusing way that the college football playoff is going to be, how the format is going to work in 2026. I'll just say on the record, I absolutely hate it. I'm going to assume my two co-hosts are going to hate it as much as I do. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're also going to do our final top 25s of the season. We haven't done top 25 since the last week of the regular season because the playoff, well, season's over. Indiana's the national champion. We will give you our final top 25 rankings. And at the end of the show, obviously we got no games to predict, but we'll give you our way too early bold predictions for the 2026 college football season. You're going to want to stay tuned for that tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, the Saturday morning tailgate, right here on the Grid Network YouTube channel and on X. Very, very excited about it tomorrow. It's been a fun first season. Can't wait to run it back again in 2026 in the fall. With that said, hope everybody has a great week. Please continue to stay safe and stay warm out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And the Steelers better not hire Mike McCarthy. They better not. Okay? Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.